Welcome to week 12, you guys. This is our third week in Illustrator. We've got one more week after this, I think. And I want to just let you guys all know you're doing awesome. I know it's a huge software, that it's different than what most of you would have done, because it's so different than what you can do on a mobile app or on an iPad, and it's so different than working with photos. So I just want to commend you guys on doing great and just being real flexible with learning and kind of picking up these new skills. So I will, of course, demo anything, answer any questions on Illustrator in this week's Zoom, but I also want to have a movie poster, kind of just classmate review and share time, so that we can kind of see what everybody's working on, give each other feedback and direction as we move into the last week. Those will be due this Sunday night. You have this week. No, next week. They're due next week. This week you have to give your online peer reviews and feedback, and then you'll have next week to incorporate anything from today's class, anything that you get in a peer review on the submission page, and kind of finesse and fine-tune your final movie poster. So I have a few people who want to share. Do you guys want to do the shares and feedback first, or the Illustrator questions first? I'm open.
Probably feedback, because I feel like that's going to spark questions.
All right, that sounds good then. Christina, you're first on my list. If you want to share your screen, and then we are going to open it up for constructive feedback. Make sure you unmute yourself so that we can all hear you. And Bryson, also please, I welcome your input as well. So Christina, if you just want to introduce your movie and anything like in particular that you feel is working, and then maybe some things that you have questions or want advice on, that would be great as an intro.
All right. So my movie's Nightmare Before Christmas. So I'm going for like a kind of spooky theme because it's very Tim Burton-y. So I like the poster on the left more than the one on the right. I feel like it's more complete and like to the feeling of the movie. Mm-hmm. But I have some concerns about like the text, because it just feels like a big blob in the middle of it. And then the one on the right, I have been fiddling with nonstop, but I don't like it. I cannot get it to a point where I like it. So if you have any feedback on like how to make the thing more cohesive or less awkward, I guess, it would be really appreciated. Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have some feedback for Christina?
I'd say I really like the design. Like, it totally reminds me of the movie. Just something that, make sure you put like an apostrophe in Tim Burton's name, right? Just, I think that's how it's spelled, but just maybe a typo there. And then it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. So is the cat like a central theme to the movie? Because it really like stands out in the poster. If it's not a big part of the movie, then maybe something else should go there. And the tombstone.
The cat is one of the things that shows up a couple of times. It's not like the main character of the movie, but it is a recurring thing. It's like in all of the songs, you'll find the cat just kind of walking around. I like him. He's kind of like an Easter egg. It's where's the cat in this song? Like one of them, he jumps on a trash can. One of them, he jumps into the character's lap. So that's why I put him in there. And then the tombstone is just because it's very Halloween-y. And also like 90% of the movie takes place in between a graveyard and Christmastown. So that was my thought process.
Yeah, in that case, I think it does fit for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking one cool thing. I mean, totally keep the cat. I think the cat works cool. But another idea you could do is you have kind of like a Santa hat hanging off the tombstone. You know, it's Christmassy too. I think the cat looks cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I really, really like the poster design so far. I have a few things to say, but I'll keep it for a little bit after. I wanted to agree though with Riley and say that it should have some kind of Christmas hint in there, because it looks like straight up Halloween right now, you know?
Okay.
So you might want to add something.
Okay. Christmas.
Christina, will you zoom in on just that left poster so we can see that poster a little more prominently? There you go. Okay. Damien, did you have something to share?
Yeah, I was suggesting. So maybe for the cat, maybe you can like get rid of the cat and maybe put on Santa's hat, but in the colors of the poster to like match it. Like since there's a lot of like different colors of theme of Santa hats for the years, maybe you can like put that in the poster somewhere to go, oh look at Nightmare Before Christmas, kid. Like it's a little hat there, Nightmare.
Okay. So,
Could put little like ornaments in the trees.
Yeah.
I was
stuff
gonna
like
Oh,
say-
good idea.
I was gonna say if it might be too much, but you could change the trees to like dead Christmas trees instead. But that'd probably be too much of a revision.
okay. I could try it. I mean, I could mess around with it because that's the fun thing about Illustrators. You can just lock the layer and then make a new one. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see, but my layers panel's a little
Oh yeah.
intense over here.
Wow.
I have a lot of like revisions and stuff, so not all of them are visible because I'm trying out different styles and whatnot. There's actually a lot happening here.
That's amazing.
I can't decide.
So
yeah, okay.
I like this poster a lot. I think here's my kind of just few little things. I like the cat for sure. I love that purple color. Look, it matches my sweater, my brand new
Hey.
sweater. So that's definitely a color that I'm liking a lot. As far as the title block, what I might do for that and what might make you feel a little bit better about it, because that font is very playful, it doesn't have a solid baseline which is where the letters sit is the baseline of a text. This does not have a baseline. They're all kind of all over the place. What you might try is keeping Tim Burton's, add that apostrophe between the N and the S, keep that on the curve of the hill. But then the Nightmare Before Christmas part, make that straight rather than on the curve, because on the curve with that variable baseline is, I think, just making it a little chaotic. And then not only that, but that's kind of the foundation of your poster design. It's kind of where everything is resting, and it might just make it feel a little more of a solid anchor if you just have it straight instead of curved. And then the other thing that you might try is, in doing that, try making Nightmare Before Christmas all one size and then pulling the out and putting on in its own little text block so that you can move it around a little bit. Maybe put it on a little bit of an angle or making it a little bit smaller and just seeing if that does anything. Otherwise, it might look better just all one size text too. But
Okay,
I think
I'm trying to emulate what most of the posters for this one does, because one of the themes of the movie is actually that he made all of the artists draw everything with their left non-dominant hand, so that everything would look super wonky. It was like the intention that everything looked distorted and chaotic.
Well, and I think this font does that on its own.
Okay,
So adding the curve to it too is almost it's kind of it's doing it's too much wonkiness, or it almost like, I don't know, it's doing something weird. And I think I'd want to see you just try it on a straight plane. And then the only other thing that I would suggest, I get the instinct to add something Christmassy. I would keep it really subtle. I do like the idea of just black silhouettes of Christmas trees that are dead. I think your trees look really cool, and they do look like the cemetery kind of scenes from the movie. But I wouldn't want to see too much Christmassy stuff, because I don't. It's got to be kind of subtle, I think, so that it doesn't take away from your design. And then just one last thing, as far as fonts go, I would change the font of RIP to something sans serif and just kind of straight down, almost like just carved into the headstone, just so you don't have two display kind of scripty fonts competing with each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alternatively, for the RIP, I feel like you don't really see sans serif fonts on tombstones. It's more like a very simple, straight up and down serif. I don't know. Am I looking at different tombstones than you, maybe, Nikki?
Maybe I was thinking of really like the Gothic, like carved into the stone, you know.
Yeah. But
Sans
it's got
serif.
like a little. They got
Maybe it has
serif.
a real subtle serif. Some of them do.
Yeah, like that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda
Yeah.
like that more.
I think that would probably look and smaller, but yeah, just play with that a little bit because you don't want it to compete too much with the title. It can be real
Right.
small, but I think just that the font choice could be a little better. So that's all I have. Yeah, I mean it's excellent, and I can see how much that you've been working in Illustrator and learning the software, which is fantastic. Christina, you've come a long way since we had that meeting a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been pretty much spending all my spare time playing with like the effects and like
yeah, I love your stars, and yeah, it's well done. All right, does anyone else have anything to wrap up?
Supposed to be stars in the background, or like rain, or what's going on with the sky?
It's just like a texture because a lot of the textures in the movie are this kind of scrape because it's all sculpted out of clay. And one of the tools you use when you're sculpting with clay, I'm a sculpting nerd, sorry, is this little like almost like a tiny chisel type thing, and you run it over stuff to give it texture, and it looks a lot like that. So
okay, I'm not a sculpting nerd, so I don't know if this would actually look good, but I would try out putting possibly different colors behind there instead of that dark gray, like maybe an even darker purple might look cool or something like that.
Yellow, you can't.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. All right, got it. Perfect then. All right, just checking. I thought it was like the default gray of the background.
I keep thinking of it as like stars, like it's a starry sky, or you know how they keep going between worlds, like it's just kind of like the spinning, you know, and it also reminds me of like time lapse and the whole like between Halloween and Christmas, you know, element of the movie. So I think it works thematically as well, and I love the cat reference is awesome. So even if it was an accidental kind of thematic deal, it works and it's really cool. So yep, I love it.
Okay, I'm glad you like it. Thank you. Yeah, so I'll straighten this out as soon as I figure out.
Yeah, just try it. And I mean, you might not like it. One of the other things as you're as you guys are playing with fonts and working with text, one of the things to always kind of pay attention to is your kerning, which is how close the letters are to each other. And sometimes fonts don't behave correctly and they'll squish some letters together and put some really far apart. And you want to go and like make a conscious decision about the letter spacing. And then the other thing is between the words themselves. Like if you feel like there's not enough space between words, or if there's too much space between words, tighten it up and mess with it and get it to be exactly where you want it to be. I've worked with fonts before like this where they don't have a solid baseline, and something about one letter will just bother me and how the font designer had it set up, and I'll adjust the baseline position for that one letter if it's not looking right to me. So make sure you, even to the smallest detail of just looking at the word the and making sure that you like where each of those letters is falling, and if you don't, play with it. So that's all part of the design. You know, you don't have to be stuck with exactly how the font appears when you type something out. The other thing to consider is if you don't like the apostrophe that comes with that given font, or if that font doesn't come with an apostrophe, you can use a different font and use that apostrophe for that font, and you're not stuck. And a lot of like these display fonts, these kind of artistic fonts will be missing, you know, an apostrophe or a semicolon or a dash, and you'll have to use another font that works with that font for that character. So just some things to be aware of when you're working with type. So Thank you, Christina, for sharing. Everybody, well done. Very, very pleased with that. And then we'll move on to Riley, who would like to share her posters, her Minion posters, which are also coming out really cool. So Riley, go ahead and share your screen and then give us a little intro.
All right, so do you see them?
Almost. There they are.
All right, so here they are. Here's my two Minion posters.
This looks so good.
So good. And then if you want to tell us what you like or don't like, or anything in particular that you want comments back on, that would be great. Just go ahead and start with that.
All right, so for this first one, I kind of followed more of the traditional, you know, the Minions Despicable Me kind of poster style. They have this white background. I kind of went with for a little bit of a light gray one because I felt white was really bright.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with this light gray, and I found this font that reminded me of the Minions font, and I figured out how to put like the shadow behind it. So
Nice.
I was happy about that. I spent a lot of time trying to do the Minion itself because I was trying to figure out how to do shading and like how realistic I wanted it to get. So it's kind of more of a stylized Minion poster, but I'm liking how it's turning out. And then for this other one, I actually for my sketches, it was this theme, but it was a different design. So I was like, oh, I kind of want to do something like this sketch. So I was just messing around with it, and I came up with this design. She's kind of in this circle, and she's holding her diamond, and I had the idea of putting her name in the background like that. So see what you guys think about them so I know how to move forward.
All right. Who wants to give Riley some feedback?
I gotta say, I love your Minion. That is like super impressive. I've been struggling to make a moon, and you have like an entire like banana, super recognizable, and the Minion, and I am very, very impressed.
Thank
Christina, is that you speaking?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Can you zoom in on the Minion for us, Riley?
Yeah.
Just because I can tell you got a lot of shapes layered, and it's really well done. Even your banana is really cool. I can tell you've been working hard on.
Here's my Minion. And then I've got my banana here. Oh, yep.
Yeah. And what did you use?
So I was
What did you use when you were creating your?
What did I use for the?
To create
when I was using my banana?
Yeah.
Since I'm still a complete newbie in Illustrator, I was probably doing things the hard way. But I used the blob, the handy dandy blob brush a lot to get the basic colors, and so I did it for the yellow, and then I used the blob brush again with a different color on a lowered opacity for the shadow.
Cool.
And then I used it for the brown, and then I used the textured brush for the more of the some shading.
It's really well done. The composition of this one and Christina's are both really well done and well thought out too. I can tell that you guys have put some time into just like the overall layout of your poster, as well as getting the look you wanted as far with the illustrations themselves. So yeah, the font and the shadow is great. It makes the title pop. I really like how different your two options are as well. Like you came up with you did too, Christina, two solid different designs, which it's hard to do. It's not always necessary either. Like whenever, it's funny because I'll usually, if I have a logo job or a poster or something like this, I will usually commit to 2 to 3 original designs, and I try to have them be very different. And then there'll always be kind of like that second tier of alternates to those two original designs, where you end up with ones that are really similar, like all of Christina's layers, where you just have a little bit of things that are different as you're trying to work through and trying to decide what to do. But I like how solidly different your two designs are. I really like the silhouette of Scarlet. It's super funny.
Yeah, so like one of the things I was considering, so it's like I got this little color on the diamond,
Mhm.
just a slight hint. I'm wondering is should I like do the same thing for Scarlet herself, like kind of hard to do this on her, like her dress maybe a little bit. Like I'm not. It's like I'm not sure. I mean, I can always try it out, but it's one of the things I was considering.
Yeah, you could try it. It might do some. It might be kind of cool of like making her seem a little more like she's actually standing there.
I don't know. It might make her look too like
It might be
flat because like
yeah.
right now it looks like she's completely obscured in shadow, which kind of is that she could be completely 3D.
Mhm.
I think if you start adding the highlights, it's going to be hard to convey that similarly, if that makes any sense.
And also, it's nice for the diamond to stand out and not, like not have anything competing with it. It's kind of a cool little effect. I think I agree with that too, Bryson.
One thing I wanted to say was the poster is very centered except for the illustration in the middle. Like all the text is centered on the poster on the right. I feel like the visual balance is a little too heavily on the right because that's where all the color is and that's where the black is for the illustration. I don't know if you would want to center it, but maybe just kind of find a way to like add more visual weight to the left side, if that makes any sense.
I think that might obscure the name to the point where you wouldn't be able to read it.
Oh, that's true.
Another thing I was kind of thinking, because you know how they will, have you guys ever seen it where they plaster movie posters on like the sides of like abandoned buildings or downtown on the like scaffolding?
Yeah.
I was thinking that poster would be kind of cool if there was two versions of it where there's like a left and a right version of her, so that every time they're next to each other, it's like a circle. Which would be kind of a cool, I mean, I know you're not designing two posters, but like that's immediately what I thought of was like when these posters are out, if there's two next to each other, you can make a complete circle. Because in my neighborhood, there's this one wall where they always have movie posters. It's like still a thing where they're all glued to the wall. And also I kind of feel like I don't know, she's like the bad guy, right? In the kind of, so I feel like it's kind of good for her to be not where she's supposed to be, like
follows the character,
like centered and even and symmetrical and in the middle are all very good things. And if she's not a good thing, maybe it's kind of good that she's off to one side. And I kind of feel like that elbow angle, like pointing to the side that she's on, is kind of like part of that. But maybe a solution would be, and you can just try it, is making her name in the background a little darker so that it gives it, like it balances out the weight of her illustration a little bit. I wouldn't go too much darker, but maybe a little bit so that it doesn't feel like empty white space as much. And then on both of them, I think I would darken the Illumination Presents so you can see it a little better.
I was kind of following the original, poster things, because I was like, oh, I really like that, but I can always, do whatever I want. I'll play around with it.
Opportunity, yeah, for us to make changes. All right. Well, does anyone else have any feedback for Riley?
Do you use gradient for the diamond part? I'm curious because I use gradient a lot for my project, so I'm wondering if you did the same.
The gradient? Oh no, I didn't use the gradient. I just used a handy dandy blob brush again.
Oh, nice.
And I just used the eraser to shape it.
Wait, there's an eraser?
Oh. Illustrate for you. Full surprises.
Zoom in on the diamond for us, Riley, so we can check it out a little bit closer. Yeah. It's like
Pretty simple, but
Yeah.
you know,
but it's
does
effective.
the job.
Mhm. Effective.
Very good.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. Well done. Yay.
Really nice job on that.
Morgan, I have you up next if you want to share your poster.
Let me see here. Yeah, let's do that. Sure. So I feel like I've really been struggling with this and struggling with Illustrator. So this is what I have so far. I'm really liking the one on the right better than the one on the left. I just feel like it, obviously, feel like it doesn't have much dimension at all. And it's just very sad feeling to me. Illustrator is not coming to me naturally at all. And so this is the one I'm more looking at. I think that I want to add something to the top, you know, it feels very blank to me. And I think I might do like a silhouette of the black pearl behind it.
Mhm.
I don't know what color I would do for the sky or the surrounding area because I did blue for the ocean. So I think maybe like doing something like cloudy looking, like the black pearl like emerging from the mist or something, because it's kind of mystical.
Mhm.
And then I want to feature the coin more because I think it looks cool, and I kind of changed it for that one, but I want it to look more like this,
Mhm.
because I like it. And I had thought about putting it in the I guess like banner in the scroll, kind of behind the front parts, but in front of the back part. Like the scroll is wrapped around it a little bit.
Mhm.
And then I thought of putting a treasure chest in this area because obviously the chest is like at the peak of the movie when they're trying to end the curse and whatnot, and they got to drop the last gold into the chest. So I had thought of that. It just feels kind of blank here. And I'm planning to move the skeleton's arms and stuff so they don't look the exact same. I just feel like I'm struggling with this a lot, and whatever you guys have to say, I would love your ideas.
All right. Does anyone have feedback for Morgan?
I have feedback for you, Morgan. Maybe you can focus on the coin instead of the skeleton. You can put the coin around, like the curse of the black pearl around the coin to like show it, oh, it's cursed with a skull symbol. And make sure the lines for the skeleton's red, because I really like how you did for the second one. The skull is easier to see and like it's balanced from the golden stuff. So that's what I can give you for advice.
Okay, thanks.
This gives me the vibe of like a book cover. I'm not sure. I just want to kind of like point out that it's a good design, I think, so far, but it really does remind me of a book cover. One of the things that you could do to improve this a little bit, see in the ribbon where it says the curse of the black pearl.
Mm-hmm.
The behind part is much thinner than the rest of it, which is a little bit confusing if you kind of think about like how it's like wrapping around or whatever. I think that possibly what you could do to make the skeletons a little bit more interesting is to make them look like they're kind of floating in the water, not maybe on the surface, but just kind of like floating around in it. So they would kind of be drifting a little bit more instead of so straight up and down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I like your idea with having a cloudier sky. I think you should do that. And I don't think I've seen this movie, so as far as like how you could put in Black Pearl stuff, I don't think I'd be able to give good advice on that. But what Damien said with focusing on the coin more, I think the coin is a really interesting element of your design, and I think it should get a little bit more attention. If you could make it kind of ridged as well, like the outside of it kind of ridged, that would communicate more that it's a coin than just like a circle, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this might work, but if you made the coin big enough, you might be able to wrap the text, the curse of the black pearl, around it, like on the top and bottom.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that would be worth that might be worth trying though.
Yeah, I could see that. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. So I'm really excited about this, Morgan. And I love the one on the right as well. I love the texture on the waves. I just ran to
Oh yeah, that's good too.
yeah, it's awesome, right? I ran to grab this selection of DVDs that I have. They're Criterion Collection versions of what's his name, Wes Anderson films. And look at this one. I don't know if you can see, like,
Sounds like Jaws.
it almost
Like I
reminds
can't
me.
see close up because I'm sharing my screen, but I can see like the general idea. Yeah.
I'll share them when we go back to the shared screen, but let me just give you my feedback for this because there's a couple of things I want you to make note of. For one thing, the Pirates of the Caribbean at the top, you could tighten up the leading, which is the space between your lines of text.
Okay.
So that it takes up less room, and then move your waves up, which gives you more room to work with on the bottom half of the poster. I think one of the reasons that you're struggling is because everything is kind of the same size. And so there's no real drama to the design. Everything is just kind of there. But at the same time, when I look at these DVDs that I pulled, that's kind of the look that they have as well, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And I'll show you guys when you can see them a little bit more close up. But you might just try, once you tighten up the leading and move the title up and the waves up, making the skeletons way bigger and just seeing like what that does. And even if the skeleton goes off the side of the poster, does that like help the design at all? I do really like the coin on the left, and agree with everyone is that, you know, that might be something you try to incorporate a little. It could almost be like the sun rising or setting into the water, which might be kind of cool behind the title. I like the banners a lot with the title, but again, maybe that needs to be a lot bigger, and you could almost get rid of the little connecting diagonal piece and then just move those two ribbons real close to each other, or not get rid of it, just cover it up and move those things a lot closer and maybe like slightly staggered so they're not on top of each other, and then just make that bigger. Kind of just play with the hierarchy of your overall design and seeing what happens if you go dramatic with some of the elements you have, because I think the elements that you have are really strong and really well done. I like the fonts. I love the little skeleton guys. To me, it almost seems like they're rising up from the depths of the water because of the way their arms are. So if you don't get to, and you don't have time for moving around their arms, I don't necessarily know that you need to. I think it's a hierarchy issue, and everything just kind of having the same value right now instead of there being some drama. But I really like that texture on the waves a lot. And I would hesitate, I wouldn't want you to do too much with shadow or with anything to make it three-dimensional, because you've committed to a two-dimensional design, which is perfectly fine. That is a style, and it's an effective style, and it doesn't need to be 3D necessarily. And it might kind of like not look right if one thing is 3D and the rest are not.
Would you keep the drop shadow on the banner?
Maybe just wait and see how it looks once it's a little bit bigger, and once it's kind of spread out right now. Like the curse of is kind of far away from the black pearl, so it's kind of hard for me to visualize it. So see what happens once you put it together, but you might decide you don't need it. And I'll show you guys, these are the I bought these versions of the movies because I liked the illustrations so much and the packaging, and like I'll show it to you guys when you're done showing, because you can open up and it comes out and there's a map inside each one of these movies of like the different, the area that I don't know, it's so cool. So I'll show you guys those in a minute. But yeah, I think this is really well done, and I hope that feedback gives you some things to try, because I think
that's helpful. I feel like it wasn't just like coming together well.
Yeah, and that's what you've got everything you need there. It's just a matter of, I really think it's just a matter of the hierarchy and just getting some, trying some crazy stuff with as far as with size and placement of everything. Does anyone else have anything for Morgan?
Yeah, I was thinking about the sun. You could combine the two of them, and make the coin overlay a sun with some light
Kind of cool.
bloom around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you want to have like clouds as well, I guess you would do sort of like a light shining out of a cloudy sky, I guess. But then you would have to also have the light. But you have the light on the waves anyways already, so
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah, you don't ever have to feel like you need to fill every last space with something, because white space has a job too in it. It directs the eye and it gives it makes visual drama. Whereas if you have too much, you can lose it. And it really just depends on the design. For some designs, it's good to fill everything and not have any white space. But I don't think that the white that you have going on is and is detrimental to your design at all. I think it adds to it. If you do use that left coin as kind of like sinking down below the waves, kind of mimicking the sun behind the title, I would get rid of the coin in the
I wouldn't double it up.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have them doubled. But other than that, very, very cool.
Maybe you can add birds on the letter title.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool, like sitting on one of the letters. I like that. Yeah.
Birds eating the skeleton or resting on it. This is an idea.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. This is one of my favorite projects. I love this so much, you guys. All right. Well, if you want to stop your screen share, I'll show you guys these discs. And if you switch to speaker view, I'll just kind of hold them up to my camera. It's still kind of glary. So this is I'll show you the Life Aquatic, but and you can probably also Google Criterion Collection, Wes Anderson, and see. But if you look on the inside, like everything is illustrated, and
like it.
Behind the disc, it's illustrated, and
Wow.
inside they have a pullout that has like the credits and everything, but also you open it, and this one, it's got illustrations all over it. I think the Rushmore one I'll pull out because I think that has a whole map. So here's Rushmore. Here's with this go-kart. And then, inside. I like these movies. I think they're great. I think Wes Anderson is great. I'm not an Uber fan, but the packaging and the illustrations on these on this collection, these editions, look at it has a whole map on the inside of the school and the neighborhood and all the crazy stuff it gets up to. Just really well done. But as much as we talked about hierarchy and kind of visual direction, I mean, it's a map, so you got to know where to look, but there isn't. Everything's just thrown on the page. So it's definitely a style choice. It's not wrong. I mean, probably for a movie poster, it's not what you want because you're advertising something and you're promoting something. So you want the viewer to, know where to look. But, it's kind of a cool, and this reminds me of your poster with the waves. So anyways, very cool. Well done. Thank you, Morgan, for sharing. All right, Damien, that takes us to you. Our last share of the day.
Can you present for me? Because unfortunately my computer is so I can't present on my Air computer. It doesn't have the
Let me
thing,
open it
unfortunately.
right now. Let's see here. Damien. Okay, let me share this with you guys. Okay, so you should be able to see a PDF here, and there are a whole bunch, right?
Yeah, only 3.
Only 3. Okay,
I
let's
only
do
color
it.
one of them.
1, 2. Okay. So we've got, I wish there was a way, I wonder if there's a way I can show these. Give me a minute here. Let me just, oops. Let me just do this. Get rid of that page. Get rid of this page. And then let's see if I can show these. I can at least show 2 at once.
That's okay.
Okay. So this one, and then this is basically kind of this
Yeah.
variation
They're
the same.
See
All
which
right.
one looks appealing.
So why don't you introduce them and then just let me know when you want me to swip swap.
All right, so I based this off of an old movie from a long time ago. I kind of grew up watching it. I'm aware of it. It's called Night of the Blood Beast, but I said change it to Night of the Beast because I like to modernize it. And basically, the concept was that it was like this monster, and at first of all, you saw the cover, oh, it's a werewolf, but it's like a creature from space. But I decided to like modernize and go, it's a wolf creature. And basically, I wanted to like give it that feeling that you don't know what it looks like how they do it back in the old horror movies where they don't show Dracula that much or the werewolf to like keep you scared, afraid. And one of the inputs I got for this poster is that I just want you to look at the eyes and see like all you can see is the face. So it can't leave you mystery. Like, hey, we know it's furry-ish. We know it has like these lines on it. Like we're not sure what it looks like. So it kind of gives that mystery of like, oh man, what it is, like what's gonna look like. It gives you the big finale, like, oh, that's what it looks like.
Very cool. And you want to introduce this version as well?
Yep.
All right.
Wait, is this the second one? On my screen, it looks like it's the first one still.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
How about now? Do you see the yellow one now?
It's just the top bar of the first one for me.
Me too. I thought it was just because of my internet.
Wait.
How about, it won't let me grab the, hold on here.
Oh.
Now what do you guys see?
Same.
You see just part of the other poster?
Yeah, the first poster.
Of the first poster. Okay, let me try. Oh, it says my sharing is paused.
What is going on?
How about now? Can you see it now?
Now it's
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
For this one, I couldn't decide which color to go with because I like both versions of them. Like I like the yellow on the wolf and the black on the wolf. So also for the inspiration for this one, I decided to look at like how do people like basically I was thinking like, okay, I'm modernizing this old film. So I'm looking back at other creator stuff like Godzilla, because one in the early 2000, I think it was 2016. Yeah, they were in production of a new Godzilla film in Japan. So one of the things that made it like kind of interesting and mysterious to make the watcher want to go watch the movie is that they make Godzilla in shadow, and you don't really see what he looks like. All you can tell, he's more grimace. He's mostly menacing with a phrasing a god incarnate as seen in Doom. So I copied the idea of a apex predator, a town hunt, to give that scary idea like, ooh, this wolf-like creature's gonna hunt everyone down and or possibly like get a town into like defending itself and everything.
All right, cool. Who would like to give Damien some feedback on these two?
I like the second one a lot. I think I like the yellow on black better as opposed to the black on yellow, because when it's that, like, when there's that much yellow in a composition, like, it really just, I don't know, because I'm torn, because it draws your eye for sure, but it also, like, I feel like yellow is a color to be used. I like how it looks when you have it on the black. So, but either way, I like the second one better. I think it's I like the silhouette and the moon and everything.
I was gonna say, I agree that I like the second one a lot better. However, I think I like the black on yellow because in the yellow on black, you really don't see the silhouette as well because it's primarily on the moon. So the lack of contrast between the yellow and the white is like, that makes it hard to see in my opinion. So, oh, and also, I think it should be an apex predator, just a typo, but.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I just realized that.
Yeah. I like the yellow background more because there's a lot more contrast between the shadow and him, because in the black background, it all kind of washes out.
I like the font that you used for Beast of the Night on the one on the left better. I think it's just kind of cooler, and it just looks a little better in my opinion. I think there might be a third option to all this color I like talking about, because maybe you could make the wolf, or the beast, I mean, a completely different color and make the moon yellow and maybe keep the text yellow. That way you could have the knight, the black knight, which I think is something you should keep, and have the yellow, which is an interesting color, but also have the beast like stand out against both of them maybe.
Okay. That's a great idea. I can just look at some colors and maybe stick with red.
Yeah, maybe a red.
Color that comes to my mind, so it's like you could have that black background, the white moon, you could have the yellow text, but you can maybe play around with blues or something, because blue contrasts well with like yellows and oranges.
That's true.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Damien, is there one that you prefer of the three?
That's a hard one. I kind of prefer I agree on everyone on the second poster on the yellow. That looks way better, because the silhouette doesn't look that good. It's just the ear. All you see is a little bit of the ear. So I think I'm gonna stick with the second one.
Yeah, I like the yellow background with the white and the black. You might add like a red eye, might be kind of cool.
Or
To
yellow eye.
have like a little pop of another color. And that, red eyes always kind of add to like, yeah, I'm evil. If you were gonna work on the first one at all, the concept of this one is really cool. I would work on those eyes and make those eyes like really like scary looking. Obviously, you've just got some placeholder eyes in there right now. And then I agree with Bryson on the font. I think the font on the yellow version of the poster is way stronger than the other two fonts. This first one, which is the same as this one here. Yeah, I guess it's the other one font. This font here on the left is way stronger. I know a couple of you have mentioned feeling like your poster looks like a book cover. And one of the things that I could tell you that you could do is just to go do a Google search or a Pinterest search of movie posters and just add that block of text that they all have at the bottom that kind of is like the director and the stars, and just kind of that's a common thing on all movie posters. Another thing is the Dolby surround sound logo, or like any of those kind of logos that they throw on the bottom that make that way it's a movie poster. If you have walked the halls at any theaters, those are kind of standard things on a movie poster. It's in no way a necessity for this project. It would just lend a little bit of authenticity to it, and also make you feel less like it looks like a book cover, because there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference between. I mean, they're both telling a story in one image, and they're representing a complete work. So yeah, this yellow one is really strong, Damien.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's good. All of the feedback is good. I would definitely go with this one, and maybe try adding a pop of red and seeing how it looks. And if you don't like it, I mean, nearly there.
Is that like little kind of lighter gray on the ear? Is that on purpose? It's kind of cool, but I don't really get it.
For that Godzilla poster I mentioned earlier, where they kept a gray highlight so you can see somewhat of his face. Of course, they didn't have time to finish it, so I was like, so just a little bit on the ear.
Yeah, if you either keep it and add to it, or lose it because it's so subtle.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Would you consider like a black stroke on your white circle to maybe give it more contrast from the yellow? I don't know if that will really work, but a thought.
All right, that's a great idea. Thank you.
You can try it, and if not a stroke, another way to do it is, and this is an alternate to the drop shadows that you guys used on some of your titles, instead of having it be a fuzzy, more natural looking shadow, you could actually just paste a version of your shape behind the original, fill it with black, and then just offset it a little bit down and to the right. So you end up with a drop shadow that's just a solid shape, and that kind of might go better with the look. Like he doesn't have any fuzzy drop shadows anywhere else in this poster. Everything is very solid. It has kind of as far as the wolf and the moon, they're solid lines, and I think it sets off the type nicely because that's a little more strokey and uneven. And that if you were going to add a black, or just try a black shadow behind the moon, maybe just try a solid fill, you know, down into the right and see what that looks like. Otherwise, I think it's fine without it too. It's really cool. It's very reminiscent of, you know, like kind of comic booky, kind of, I don't know, like a 60s movie poster is what it reminds me of.
Can I mention one more thing I just thought of?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know anything about the story, but like one thing that I just thought of is, you know, it's like Beast of the Night, you know, Predator. I'm thinking like, you know, the color red, you could play around with the placement of the text and maybe highlight, like make it one of the like word Predator, like, you know, in like this dark red or this red font color, just, you know, to give it some more of that color.
Yeah.
That's another idea.
Yep.
Or one
And
thing.
one final thing from me, maybe instead of doing the eye being red, what if you made the inside of the mouth red? Because right now it's so kind of transparent that you can like see the moon through it all the way back, which is a little bit weird if you're thinking about this as like an actual shape, like an actual beast. You wouldn't be able to see that far into their mouth like that. So maybe make that a different color instead. Might be cool.
Something to think about too. Yeah. And try these things, Damien, and then you are the boss of it. You know, if you try it and you don't think it works, don't do it. You know, all of these suggestions, you guys, for all of your posters, try the things that you feel like make sense and then see. But yeah, that might look kind of cool. And if you did his whole mouth, I would do like a dark red, like not too bright, so he doesn't look too clowny, you know, to have this like kind of big red mouth. But if you did kind of a dark blood red, that might look pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else for Damien?
The only thing I would recommend is, or I mean, you can play around with it, is so in a lot of horror movie posters that I've seen, they include some kind of splatter element because that has a lot of associations. And I actually saw one recently where they turned like a type of moon, kind of like you have, but they made it into a splatter. So like it was still white and it was still mostly brown, but it had like really rough edges and it added a new like kind of texture to the whole thing. So you could try that if you wanted.
Yeah.
One thing, maybe you could like, because the font for the font is the same on the one on the left, right? For the two, the title and the subtitle. So maybe try using the font for the title on the right for the subtitle, maybe. I don't know, because I don't know, because having the same font for the title and the subtitle makes it just looks a bit too like plain, I guess, or
maybe alter the size. Like Beast of the Night is dramatically bigger than an apex predator, a town haunted. Like maybe that subhead needs to just be a little smaller so that there's more of a hierarchy. That might work too. I kind of like,
or be like switching the font on the left and then putting it on the right.
I think, yeah, I like how this font looks because it reminds me of claw marks and scratch marks, and like the Beast of the Night just like scratched up the whole poster. And because they're all in all caps, I feel like we want to stay with one typeface so it doesn't get too, like the one on the left, you've got two different fonts, both in all caps, and it doesn't really work. And it's not a good idea to do that if you were going to do you generally, as a rule, don't want to use two display fonts together. And that's what they call these kind of fonts that are really, limited use for big headlines and titles. They're on display, so when you're using them on one piece, you want to limit the use, because otherwise the style of them is even not quite the same. But I do think Kenneth has a good point as far as them being really close to the same size. You can tell they're not, but they're so close to the same size that it's not as effective as it would be if you made Beast of the Night a little bit bigger, and then an Apex Predator, I'd add a period, a Town Haunted, period, make that a little bit smaller. The other thing you can do in order to make your title at the top bigger is make the words of and the same smaller size as an Apex Predator and a Town Haunted, and that'll give you more room to make Beast and Night even bigger. While you're sticking to the same font, and you still have only two font sizes, so it gives your a real nice kind of unity to the poster with your fonts while still giving it a hierarchy. So that might be something to try. You guys are really good at this. Thank you very much for all the participation. Damien, well done. Thank you for everybody that shared. We've only got, it's 4 o'clock already. So you're dismissed. If you need to go, if you need to ask me any questions, I'm gonna stick around till everybody is good. I'm gonna stop the share. And then, yeah, really well done, you guys. Great job. So if you haven't already, make sure you do your commentary peer reviews online. You should all have been assigned 2 classmates. If they haven't turned in anything yet, just put in the comment. I can't give you any feedback because there's nothing here to respond to, because then I'll know that you've done your part for that and at least checked in. All right, but great job. Thank you guys.